Japan, the prime minister called a snap election, the quickest snap election in Japanese history. And boy, has she had a big victory today. She's going to have 2/3 majority in the upper house. President Trump endorsed her last week. She is a great ally, great relationship with the president. And when Japan is strong, the U.S. is strong in Asia.
And that's U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent with me yesterday, praising Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi as a strong and trusted ally of the United States after her landslide victory in the parliamentary elections overnight. The win gives Takaichi a strong mandate to strengthen ties with the United States and boost Japan's economy. Joining me now is Tennessee Senator and former ambassador to Japan, Bill Hagerty. Senator, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you, Maria. It's great to be with you this morning. My daughter's birthday, actually, this morning. A wonderful day all around.
Oh.
And by the way, that was a great interview with Secretary Bessent. That was a wonderful interview yesterday.
Thank you so much, Senator, and happy birthday to your daughter. I want to get your take on what this means in terms of Japan. You spent so much time aligning the two nations as ambassador. What is your reaction to the parliamentary elections win?
I think it's an incredible show of strength at a very important time. Look, President Trump is hugely popular in Japan. The fact that he endorsed Prime Minister Takaichi ahead of this election, I think, showed great unity. I think it gave her a huge lift. And now she has a supermajority in the lower house there in Japan. That's going to give her the momentum and the impetus to make needed economic reforms and, importantly, to step up defense expenditures to levels well beyond anything that we've seen in the past. It's going to strengthen our alliance and our relationship there with Japan and in the region. Who's not going to like this? Well, clearly the CCP, North Korea, Russia. But for our allies in the region, Japan is taking an even stronger posture. Their economy is moving. Look at their Nikkei. The Nikkei hit 57,000, a new record there as well. You think about what that says about the overall confidence in the market to come. I'm feeling very good about our relationship with Japan. And Prime Minister Takaichi is coming to America in March to visit with President Trump. I'm looking forward to supporting that effort as well.
That is fantastic. She has been called Margaret Thatcher and I guess this victory gives her a lot of mandates to do what she wants to do. What will she do? Do you think she boosts the defense of Japan as she continues to push back on communist China, doesn't she?
I think that's very clear, the direction that she's going to take it, Maria. The Japanese already made the commitment to eventually get to 2% of their GDP. That's a doubling from where they were. Prime Minister Abe always wanted to do this. But Japan has watched very closely China's aggression in the Taiwan Strait. Public sentiment has shifted. The Japanese public is clearly for a stronger defense right now. So I think what you'll see in Ambassador Glass, my successor there in Tokyo, is working very hard toward this end, is Japan's going to continue to step up their defense posture and, more important, their interoperability with the United States, with South Korea, with Australia, with our allies in the region, to see more joint exercises and more coordination that's going to increase our forces there and multiply our capabilities in something beyond what we've ever seen before in the region.
That is wonderful. And that is why the president gave her his complete and total endorsement on Truth Social before this election. Let me turn now to the business at hand in the U.S. Congress locked in a standoff over funding for the Department of Homeland Security, with money set to run out at the end of the week on Friday. I can't believe, Senator, that we're talking about another potential shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. This would affect TSA and travel, FEMA. It would affect border security enforcement. I spoke with Pennsylvania Senator, your colleague John Fetterman, yesterday, and he told me he is, in fact, expecting a shutdown of the department. Watch this. Do you expect the Department of Homeland Security to be forced to shut down on Friday? Are you going to vote to fund DHS?
No, I absolutely would expect that it's going to shut down. I know that the Democrats, we provided, I think it was 10 kinds of basic things. And then the Republican pushed back quickly, saying that that's like a Christmas wish list and that they're non-starters. I truly don't know what specifically are the Democrats' red lines, that it has to be. Certainly not going to get all 10. But now, if I had to say now, they would probably expect that there is going to be a shutdown because things are just drowned down to committed to do that.
Senator, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I think Senator Fetterman mentioned there are a lot of requests here. If we were to abide by all of them, we would basically turn the United States of America into a sanctuary nation, Maria. That's where they're headed with this. That's not going to happen. I think they've picked the wrong vehicle here as well. The Department of Homeland Security performs very important roles. If you think about what they do with respect to the Coast Guard, interdicting drugs coming into our country. TSA, you mentioned this, transportation in America will come to a halt when TSA gets defunded. And in my home state of Tennessee, we've been hammered heavily by ice storms. FEMA is a critical aspect of addressing that. They want to defund it. The one thing this will not do is it will not defund ICE, because we already funded ICE in the big reconciliation bill that we did last year in 2025. So again, they're tilting at windmills, trying to achieve things that the American public do not want to see. Will there be some movement on this? I think there will be. If you look at what's already in the bill, we've already taken steps to provide funding for body cameras. ICE wants to do this. There's several things that I think we can accomplish here. But if the politics of the matter seem to overwhelm the Democrats, they may not be listening to that. It's certainly not a practical approach to take, and I'd hate to see the government shut down on Friday, at least the Department of Homeland Security, because there's so many other aspects of America's well-being that the Democrats are willing to put at risk just to make this point.
Well, by the way, they're also willing to put it at risk right before the midterm elections, right? I mean, you know, it's so laced with politics. It's so obvious that, you know, your colleagues agreed to fund 90% of government, not the Department of Homeland Security, but the rest of government until September 30th, right before the midterm elections. So there's lots of chaos right before the midterms. I guess the point of that is.
I think that's the objective. I think Chuck Schumer thrives on chaos. That's what they're hoping for. They're not winning from a policy standpoint, Maria. I mean, look at what's happening in our economy. Look at the international wins President Trump is achieving. Their heads are exploding, and so all they can do is temper tantrums like this.